Man-made disasters. Rabies. What is rabies? How do people get rabies? Can all animals transmit rabies? What are the symptoms of rabies? How soon after exposure do symptoms appear? Is a human able to spread rabies? What is the treatment if I'm bitten by an animal or exposed to its saliva or other body fluids? Is rabies preventable? Is rabies deadly? How can I tell if an animal has rabies? Come this Monday to Team Ranger 92308 and learn exactly what rabies is about and how seriously rabies is. Learn whether it's fatal or not and how many people are affected by it all around the world and what you can do to prevent rabies and protect yourself from rabies. This Monday at Team Ranger 92308, he will show you what you need to know to the best of his ability. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and share this. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am Team Ranger 92308, also known as Mike the Ranger 92308. Today, we are discussing another segment of disaster preparedness, and today we are discussing man-made disaster, dog bite, and rabies. Real quick, I want to say a special thank you to Flo Beck, who became a member. So, with that in mind, thank you so much, Flo Beck. And real quick, look at that. Look at that. Super duper super member. Look at that. Look at that. Super duper super member. Okay, now to get back to the serious business. First, I'd like to discuss on this very important topic dog bites. Dog attacks are a serious situation and it should not be taken lightly. Dog attacks will go into the rabies, but most of the time they're not rabid. More than 4.5 million people are bitten by dogs annually in the United States, according to the Center for Disease Control. At least half of those bitten are children. 1 in 5 people bitten by dogs require medical attention. Children are most common victims of dog bites and are far more likely to be severely injured. Most dog bites affecting children occur during everyday activity and while interacting with familiar dogs. Most dog bites are preventable, and there are many things you can do at home and within the community to prevent them. How can you avoid dog bites? Good question. It is important to know to avoid escalating risky situations and to understand when you should avoid, what you should avoid, and how you should avoid and not interact with dogs. You should not interact with them or and avoid them if a dog is not with their owner. Sometimes people put their dogs on a leash and put them out in their front yard, but they're not there. The owners are inside. Do not interact with the dog without its owner around. If the dog owner is around and says, but the owner does not give you permission to touch the dog, again, do not interact with the dog. Do not try to pet this dog or their dogs or arouse their dog. If a dog is on the other side of the fence, do not put your hand through the fence and do not reach over the fence to try and pet the animal. The dog on the other side of the fence, main purpose is to protect that home. If a dog is playing with the toy, do not try to pet it or because it will fear that you are trying to take it away from them. If a dog is resting with her puppies and seems very protective of her puppies or anxious about your presence, do not mess with the animal, the dog. If a dog is growling or barking, do not mess with the animal. Animal bites are a serious problem within the United States. And if you are bitten, take proper procedures. One is to wash the wound with soap and lukewarm water for 15 minutes. Notify your physician and report it to animal control or whatever to make sure that animal does not have the following symptoms that I'm going to describe next. The next big portion of this is about rabies. Rabies, a lot of people think is a thing of the past. But what is rabies? Rabies is a viral infection that travels from animal to animal or animal to human. And the incubation period is approximately it can be from a week up to 2 to 4 months, some say even years. But if you are bitten by a rabid animal, notify the local authorities, let them know the situation. Let them know you were bitten by an animal. Try and get a description of what the animal looked like, how it acted, and make sure you get as much details as possible. Because some people will not report a dog bite because, oh, that's such and such pet. I don't want to get them in trouble. Or that's such and such pets. I know they had their rabies shot. Sometimes it's not always effective. And it's better to be safe than sorry. Rabies is a serious situation. Rabies kills 59,000 people each year. Each year, 59,000 people die of rabies. Mostly in other countries like Asia, Africa, Indonesia, and the Philippines. But it is still a serious situation as well in the United States. Animals affected by rabies are wild animals such as bats, coyotes, fox, skunk, and rodents. But it's also it affected deers and possums as well. Once these wild animals are affected, they usually transmit it to domestic animals and sometimes even humans. With that in mind, what are the signs of rabies? Not always they're not always vicious. Everybody says, oh, I can tell a rabid animal because it's vicious. Not always. Sometimes they're very affectionate. And sometimes they drool from the mouth. This video I'm about to show you is courtesy from African from the African Animal Veterinarian Program.
The dog has often been described as man's best friend, but this animal's close association with humans is the main reason for it being the most important vector in human rabies. Worldwide, more than 95% of all human rabies cases are caused by dog bites. What does rabies look like in dogs and other mammals? Some of the most characteristic symptoms are the following. Many dogs develop a characteristic continuous howl that is neither barking nor baying. This often progresses to a hoarse, croup-like yowl. Provoked and unprovoked aggression typify the rabid dog. If the dog is restrained, it might attack the fences or iron bars. If at large, it may roam aimlessly, fighting and biting anything it makes contact with. Movement and sound often elicit aggressive responses. Bone in the throat symptom is potentially extremely dangerous to pet owners and veterinarians because there's a temptation to dislodge the apparent obstruction. Direct saliva contact with open wounds is a potential source of transmission. The frequently reported paralysis of the tongue and dropped jaw signs are pivotal to the animal's inability to swallow. Dogs are often very thirsty, but are unable to drink. Some animals, however, are able to drink and eat even in an advanced stage of the disease. Notice in this case the dog's response to flying insects. choking sounds and a hoarse cough are often followed by vomiting. Restlessness is consistently reported in all species and may be noted as aimless wandering and circling, pawing, scratching, digging, rubbing, licking, chewing, and depilation. Dogs are excited, agitated, they circle, paddle, lie down, and stand up at frequent intervals. Fly snapping at real or imaginary insects is often recorded. Experienced field workers are often alerted by a weird, fixed glare. As the disease progresses, incoordination is nearly always seen. This may be followed in some animals by paresis, paralysis, coma, and death.
As you can see, rabies isn't a joke. Rabies is something to be taken very seriously and not lightly. Many people should be responsible for their animal. How can you prevent rabies? What you can do in your community is help by watching not just your pet, keep an eye out for animals. If nocturnal animals such as raccoons, coyotes, foxes are active during the day, that can be a clear sign that there's a problem with that animal. If your animal is bitten by one of them, immediately take your animal, clean the wound, make sure to address the wound. Again, same as a human, make sure it's cleaned thoroughly with lukewarm water and soap. Take your animal to the vet and have it revaccinated. Vets do 2 doses of rabies. One is a 1 year antivirus medication, and another is 3 year virus protection, anti-diabetes. It is very important that you make sure your animals are in fact gotten these rabies shots. Because as you saw in the video, rabies is a serious situation. If your pet and bitten someone, it is not immediate death sentence, as people think. But the person who's bitten should clean the wound thoroughly with lukewarm water and soap for 15 minutes. And you should have your animal tested to make sure they're not rabid. Because once rabies hits the human, it takes the same amount of time as a dog. All mammals can be stricken with rabies. Whether it be cows, horses, or dogs, or cats, all livestock can be affected by rabies. And it is very important to make sure that your animals are vaccinated. It is very important to make sure that people seek proper medical help. Because having rabies does affect all. What are the effects of rabies? And how does it affect others when someone has gotten bitten? Rabies is not just a disease that affects one person. Rabies is a serious situation. Wow, that's scary, 7-7 slot. Had a friend that got rabies from a cow. It licked him. Yes, rabies does transfer from saliva. If you have an open wound or something like that, in 99% of the time, once the rabies settles into a person that has not been vaccinated and the incubation period is over, it's 99% of the time a death sentence. And it doesn't just affect that person. People that cannot afford to get the help suffer. Like I said, majority of the time when someone is bitten by a dog, it is a child. It's more prevalent in foreign countries like Africa, Asia, Indonesia, India, and the Philippines. But it is here too. And it doesn't just affect the person. Physically, it affects the person that was bitten. Mentally, it affects everybody, as I'm about to show you.
Kumawaso zabitaso kumunda la chiwiri ndopene sana kunkapezeka kuti mkutani kufusa kuti amutu kundipweteka sana kenako kuona uphika kuti amwe mazi ukanika
amasanza okhala ngati
ndopene kunkapezeka kuti fena zapitano kuti
chithandizo kuti mwanayo akhalenso ndi moyo koma ndinali okhuzidwa kwambiri tapita chipatala doko komanso pamene chiwewe chilibe mankhwala muzingodikira tsiku
pamene tinkapita feo chipatala tikafuna chani chithandizo cha mwana ndiye mwana ingatsana ndiye chithandizo kukhumudwa kulipo mumtima nakutsala mwana mamuna muzemwe.
To come back years later to see that these families are actually still experiencing the same grief as if it has just occurred the same day, I feel as a medical practitioner we have let this family down.
Fani magarazeka kapituluka mwana wanga. Nyamatenda chiwewe tunga kandi kamaona. asubira ngaali kuwumisidwa nkati mwa mtima mwanga kwambiri ngakhale kuti ndimone umene galu amapasa mantha kwambiri.
Ndenti may isang lawas nan, adadya kwartunan. Adadya kwartuna, kati ko na deti. Apa na rumor ni manong nyo kasta? Si Sibugan DJ CR kuna na. Ta apay ko naket. Ibaga na nga basta ka Sibugan DJ adadya CR katanggal kabuteng kot danom kuna na. Kuanan, dedi Rabies ang namapan yan, di kuanan. So, nagdanak kanimot, di konser.
Siyempre, nasakit ko na kami, ma'am, na may sangat sa aming lalaki.
Rabies affects everybody. Once a person is bitten, if they do not seek medical attention until the rabies starts to affect them, what happens is that the rabies goes from bite wound area up the nerve, through the bloodstream, up to the brain. And once it hits the brain, there's no cure. Even now, there are still reports within the United States of rabid animals attacking people. They've had bobcats attack people in New Jersey. They had foxes attack people in Florida and in Alabama. They had rabid coyotes attack people in California. If you are attacked by a rabid animal, get as many details as possible. If you can catch the animal safely, do it. But do not put yourself in further harm trying to catch this animal. The pictures I showed, the video I showed you at the beginning, are animals affected by rabies. And nobody should have to go through what rabies does to people. If you're bitten by an animal, go get help. Don't just clean the wound and think, okay, I'm fine. It does take from a week to 3 months for rabies to affect a person. And once it affects that person, it's usually a death sentence, and it affects everyone. Friends, as 777 Slot said, family, losing the person because of rabies because they did not get to a hospital in time. They did not get checked out when they were first bitten. It's very devastating. And I hope that this is very informational. This is my knowledge that I have on both dog bites, animal attacks, and rabies. I hope people take the preventative measures. And again, how can you help within the community? You can, first off, report any animal of suspicious behavior, whether they're feral or pets. Always make sure that you have your animals vaccinated for rabies and distemper. Always make sure that you have those documents on file. And even if it's a family friend, If you suspect an animal of suspicious behavior, warn that friend or family. You know, Muffin doesn't look right, it's acting funny. They may take Muffin to the vet and have him checked to make sure. Once an animal bites and it's reported, they're usually quarantined for a month under observation to make sure that the animal is not rabid. Once rabies sets in, it takes a week to 10 days for death in that animal. But it should not be a death sentence to you or your friends or loved ones. Take the proper precautions. As I say, stay alert, stay informed, and you'll be safe. This is a short but straight to the point segment on what to do if you're bitten by a dog or cat even. How to respond to it. I have both cats and dogs and they're all vaccinated. Make sure that if a stray animal attacks your animal or a wild animal, make sure to get your animals to the vet, have them taken care of. Most likely they'll revaccinate your animal to be safe. Always be prepared. It's super, super important to be proactive than not active at all. Hey, living your best life. Rabies is a very serious situation and it's still going on. 59,000 people are affected by rabies every year. 4.5 million people in the United States alone is bitten by animals each and every year. Take this step to protect yourself, protect your animals, to protect others. This is a short segment, but it's straight to the point fact that you must know to be safe from wild animals, rabid animals. It cannot be emphasized enough. If you're going to travel to another country from the United States, make sure to get the vaccination because a simple incident can turn deadly. People have traveled to other countries, gotten bit by a puppy or by, a dog on the street. They clean the wound up and they go home and usually the wound clears up. It, make it infect, you put antibiotics on it. And next thing you know, 3 months later, you're affected by rabies. Very, very important to make sure you get the medical help you need and don't play around with rabies. Rabies is not a joke. And just like Dagan Hill just said, I will reemphasize. If a pet gets rabies, it has to be put down. It can't be cured. But if your pet gets attacked by a rabid animal and you get it revaccinated right away, there's a chance. But I cannot emphasize enough. Like I said, that video, when I watched it, was heartbreaking. Children who are bit. And by the time the parents realize what's going on, it's too late. It happens with adults too. That's why I felt that this is, in fact, a very, very important segment in disaster preparedness. Because if you're not taking proper procedures, you're not taking the proper procedures for your animals, you're basically, at Dagon Hill, made very, very serious. It'll kill your pet. It will kill a human being. The following animals do not get rabies. Any animal that is not a mammal, be a reptile, bird, or other types of animals, do not get rabies. Mammals get rabies. And it's usually transferred from wild animals or bats to a human being via saliva. And that's why it is very, very, very important to be safe and sorry. This concludes dog bites and I will emphasize any pets. There have been rabid cats on the news lately. There have been rabid dogs on the news lately. Rabid deer. I have so much I'm going to put in my description after this is over today, showing you exactly how rabies affects animals, people, and it's not pretty. This concludes how rabies affects humans and why it's very important. Whether you're bit by a stray animal, a friend animal, a family member's animal, it is important to take the proper procedures to be safe. Thank you. And this is what's coming up on the next disaster preparedness series.
Carbon monoxide. What is carbon monoxide? How is carbon monoxide produced? How many people are unintentionally poisoned by carbon monoxide? What are the symptoms of carbon monoxide? Can you see carbon monoxide? Can you smell carbon monoxide? Can you taste carbon monoxide? How can I prevent carbon monoxide poisoning? What carbon monoxide level is dangerous to my health? Come next Monday at Team Ranger 92308 shows you the answers to these questions and how deadly carbon monoxide poisoning really is. Stay informed, stay alert. Team Ranger 92308.
Next segment is carbon monoxide, another man-made disaster that cannot be overly emphasized. In this series, disaster preparedness series, I want to make sure, from my opinion, along with facts, exactly what people need to know to prepare themselves or prevent themselves from being affected by man-made disasters and natural disasters. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope to see you on the next segment next Monday of Disaster Preparedness Series. I am Ranger 92308. Have a good day, everybody, and thank you for being here. Much appreciated, everybody. But I'll see you on the next stream. Be safe, stay alert, stay informed, and don't be a stranger to the ranger. Thank you guys so much, and have a good day. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.